Yeah, well, it seems like we have what we're starting with at this point, so we're now recording, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the CNFT.tools Discord server again. Here
Uh,
for an AMA I've actually been waiting quite a while for and looking forward to with Vikram from Voyage. So, hi
Yo,
Vikram.
hi. So can you just unmute Stash and Pizza Monster too because they are
Ah,
my
yes.
co-founders and developer. Yeah,
Yeah, so Stash and who else was it?
Pizza Monster. There's Prerak.
Yeah, done.
His Discord ID is Pizza Monster. Yeah.
So, I mean, usually we do our AMAs a little later, so I'm sure this will be catching people by surprise, it being a little earlier than usual.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, they both have the ability to unmute themselves now anyway.
okay, fine.
Yeah, thanks for that, man.
So yeah, if you could start by introducing yourselves, and then we can just go from there.
Yeah. So I'll start. So my name is Vikram, and I'm a computer science student with specialization in applied mathematics. And yeah, I'm the co-founder of Voyage, and I've also been part of I've been part of college projects which focused on building many mini games. So I've sort of got an rough idea how the game logic works, and yeah, and I started this project with my co-founder Prerak, who's here with me, uh, and then Stash is also working with us to, make this project a success.
Nice. Do Stash and Pizza Monster want to say a few words?
Yeah, I think Prerak, you can go first.
Hello. Yeah, right. So I can go first. Hello everyone. Thank you so much, CNFT Tools, for having us here. I'm Prerak Malik. I'm also a computer science student in the same college as Vikram. I would say that my research interest would incline towards blockchain and high performance computing. So Vikram and I, we have been building Voyage since about January of 2022, and we wanted to bring something like a customization and upgradation to NFTs. So we have been working very hard into that sphere, and I also see Voyage delivering consistently along those lines as well. And yeah, pretty excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Right. So I'm Stash. The two co-founders, Vikram and Prerak, reached out to me early on, and I spoke to them, and I agreed to come on board and help with the community management aspect, the communication aspect. Eventually, we ended up building the plan that's become Voyage. So the three of us are Team Voyage, and we're ready to answer any questions you guys might have. We've actually got on and spoken to people as best as we can, but a new audience is always great for us.
Yeah, for sure. So, how did you come up with the idea of planets and everything in the first place?
Vic, I think you can take that. I think you're a prayer.
Okay, so I can take that one. Right. So now coming to the idea of planets. So first of all, I will just talk about the theme. So why we chose this is a little niche. So when we came up with Voyage, this was not something that was being done a lot. So I would say this was one of those niche projects which was not getting a lot of traction at that point of time. Right. So since our childhood, we have been very uh, inclined towards science fiction, and space travel is something that has fascinated all of us. So that is why we chose to have a theme which is somewhat similar to science fiction. And again, so when it comes to NFTs, we saw that there were a lot of PFP projects. So what they were doing were they were giving you an ownership of the art. So they were great in terms of providing you NFTs, providing you future utility. But we wanted something, I would say, a simulation of a whole society. So to have that into play, we came up with the idea of Voyage. So the central element of Voyage would be that you are able to own planets, and that ownership is verified through blockchain technology using NFTs. And you own planets, you own continents. Continent is a drop which is coming very soon. So we wanted to integrate this simulation of a whole economy and blockchain, along with some of our personal inclinations towards science fiction and space travel. So that
So
is how
I
we started with Voyage. Yeah.
So I've been a gamer myself, right? And I thoroughly enjoyed playing Mass Effect and those type of space exploration and space battle games. So that's how the idea came up because when you are trying to make a metaverse, when you are trying to make a metaverse, like I wanted something that goes like beyond the imagination. So in space, there's no need for imagination. So that's why we could. So that's why.
Yeah, sorry, I can. You're breaking up a little bit, and we're getting some background noise coming through.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, that's better.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. So, like in space, there's no limit of imagination, right? So with voice, there's like we can have very different sort of environments, different type of flora and fauna on each planet. So that was the main point to get that diversity and get that variation in that metaverse, particular metaverse field. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sounds pretty awesome. I mean, like I like the fact that you're coming at it from a gaming standpoint as well. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people that
So
are into NFTs are kind of into gaming as well. So
yeah. So our initial idea was to make a game before make an NFT. If you would read our white paper, it's designed in such a way that it's you can already like get the idea that it is going to be a game. So what other projects might do is, well, they first initially they drop profile pictures and then they get stuck with the idea, then and then they get stuck in a loop. Like they have to sort of add some sort of utility because so that then how they that after then they incorporated with some sort of game. But our initial plan was to develop a game, then sell out NFTs on the basis of game that supports our ecosystem.
yeah, so what direction are you hoping to take it with gaming? Is it going to be more sort of like building and exploration, or is there going to be like PvP or like space battles, or how is all that going to work?
Yeah, the game is going to be a online multiplayer battle arena type of game. So in that game, you're gonna have like it's very early to speak about all the game mechanics, but I have something rough in my mind which I would like to share with all of you. So the it's going to have like a square based map in which you're gonna have three sort of lanes. Someone is going to be a central lane, and the others are going to be a right and left lane. So basically, what you have to do is it's going to be you have to destroy other enemies' outposts and defend yours. And it's going to be made in Unreal Engine.
Okay.
To yeah.
So is this a permanent, always on game, or is does it stop when you log out, for instance?
I don't.
So maybe I can give you an overview about that. So we have also mentioned this in the white paper. So what we're going to have is we are going to have a whole metaverse, and inside the metaverse there are some gamified aspects. So we have three types of game modes. So the first game mode is one versus one. The second is where maybe you can form an alliance with your friends. The third one is we have this concept of galaxies where each person belongs to a particular galaxy. So what happens then is that you can represent a particular galaxy in a game, and different galaxies combat each other. So you ask that if it would be always on or off kind of thing. So the metaverse and exploration aspects would always be on, But when you agree to play a game, what you are doing basically is you are fighting for the in-game token, which is the Voya token. So you have to intentionally at that point of time agree to a battle, and maybe it will find an opponent for you, and then you can combat each other. So the game would not be always on, because I would say that it's not. I,
Yeah, the battles themselves are going to be session based. Just like if you were playing
Okay.
any regular game like Counter Strike or something, you've got to get in lobby, get a match found for you, and then that's the session game. Otherwise, the metaverse runs non-stop.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I used to play a game a while ago. It's kind of similar. It had like 3 or 4 different tribes, but it was one of those ones where it was always on. So it takes sort of like 3 or 4 people to run one account. So you'd have to have somebody on each time zone, and turn into a big logistical nightmare that cost way too much money. Hence why I stopped playing it. But this does
Yeah,
sound
that
a
just
lot
wouldn't be
better.
that wouldn't be feasible. We want to provide our holders with an environment, a game that's actually fun to play and not just a full-time job. So
Yes.
it started like the session based thing is one thing, and then because this is something on the blockchain, because we the team has the capability to explore the metaverse and it ties in with the game. That's the part that will be always on. So we can have a variety of class of holders with Voyage. You could have the people who purely enjoy holding lands and enjoy exploring the lands via the metaverse element of it, or you could have the competitive gamers who are more interested in the actual battle arena aspect of it. Even the people who play the battle arena, you could have the competitives and the casuals. It's actually going to be its own meta.
Oh, that sounds quite interesting. So, how many different galaxies is there going to be that the players slash planets be in? And I'm assuming they're all going to have different effects on the game and everything like that as well.
Yeah. So what we've got at the moment, so we've already minted out 1,600 planets, and these planets are equally distributed across 4 galaxies. Now we've already divulged the primary species that reside on each of these galaxies, and if you're aware, with our 1,600 planet drop, we are also giving out a free PFP collection done by Bajizuki himself to our holders. It's a one-to-one drop, so each planet gets one based on the dominant species. So we actually also have concept art that is just about there, and we've shared a couple of sneak peeks here and there with our holders. But we have 4 at the moment. We've got 4 playable species that we will develop the game with, and they're all in the metadata already. This from the get go. If you look at Vikram's profile picture, that's one of the alien species that we have. That's one of the mock-ups done by Bajizuki.
Right, let me bring that up in a way that people will be able to see it on YouTube quickly. It's not going to make it easy for me. Why doesn't it let me right click it? Right, we'll just do it this way. So yeah, just slide out the screen so people on YouTube can see it later on. Looks quite sadistic, to be honest. Not one of the aliens you're going to sit down for a cup of tea with.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So, because this is a game, we when we conceptualize the aliens, we had already conceptualized a split by class. Because if you've got a battle arena, you've got to have sufficient differentiation between the alien species for the synergies to work, or for there to be advantages, disadvantages to play styles. So based on that, we've come up with the 4 cursory classes. You've got the tanks, the supports, physical damage per second, and the magic damage per second. Well, I mean secondary damage type per second, right? So with the model, you see that that is our physical damage dealer. So they are. If you read the lore that we've got partially in the white paper, this is meant to be a warlike race. The planets that these aliens reside on are all ravaged. They spend a lot of time, well, just doing war stuff. So yeah, they look kind of like creepy lizards.
So, how long do you expect a a game to last, or a game session to last? Is it going to be like, a 5-10 minute thing, or is it more settle down for an hour or two and get right into it?
No, well, at the moment, as we've mentioned, you see, first off, if we take a macro look at the project and where we're at, although the core of the project is the alien and the games, there's a lot that builds on into it, which is why we've started with the planets first. So we start with the planets, and then when the continents come out, that's when we have resource generation. And the resource generation ties in very much to the customization of our aliens. So because we are building this entire concept and this entire world, we're actually building it from top down. Because eventually everything from the outside layer flows into the game in terms of resources, in terms of what aliens you probably end up getting based on the planets you hold, and blah, blah, blah. For that reason, we have looked more into the technical aspects of this game and stuff like that. We haven't actually fully decided how long the games are going to be, the game mechanics. That's all in the works, and we are actually not at liberty to divulge that at the moment. We are a lot more focused at the moment on the mechanics that come out before the game. We've got Voyage divided into a couple of phases. We just finished with phase one. We're in phase two right now, of which we've divulged an 8 week roadmap that's coming out. And this is very much more centrally focused to our planets and our continents as opposed to the aliens and the game.
Okay. So, how many stages do you have in your, in your roadmap, and at what point do you expect to have everything ready to go for people to log in and play games and explore and mine or whatever else is planned for this?
Okay, so I'll give you the brief overview, and then we'll let Vikram and or Prerak talk about the actual timelines with stuff. But what we're doing is right now, with regards to how many phases we've got. Phase one was the planets. With phase two, we are building up to the continent. So, as if you take a look at the 8 week roadmap that we've got, one of the major things we've got in the works at the moment is actually the website overhaul, whereby your NFT, you'd be able to mount your NFT onto the website and play with your planet model in 3D. That's one of the bigger things that we're aiming to do. And after that comes out, then we move into continents. Now, once the continents drop, we get the resource generation going, and this will all be explained in detail. Actually, even the metadata will let you know how much of a resource you can estimate, you can expect to receive from a particular continent on a particular planet. Once we're done with that, then we move towards phase three, which will be actually the aliens themselves. And with the aliens, like as we have mentioned previously, this is a very much so customizable thing. So with the aliens, it will not just be the aliens, but you will also get NFTs with regards to the customizations. You can do weapons, armor, traits, that kind of thing. And the game will be developed simultaneously with the aliens, so that if I remember correctly, the timeline that we've got for a beta would be close to the end of the year, Q4. Vikram, Prerak, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
by the
So
yeah.
it's okay, you can go on.
Yeah, so by the end of this year, the quarter four or quarter one of the next year, we will be releasing beta version of the game with 2 or 3 maps. Like this game will require constant development and updation, and I don't want people to, just wait for 2 years to get the entire game developed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna release the game in phases, and we're gonna give you 2 or 3 maps initially where you can play and uh, get the feel of the environment and do all the stuff that is required in the game, and then we're gonna expand it gradually as time passes by.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the beta comes out at the end of the year or the start of the new year. But as with everything like this, we need to get testers on. We need people to play the beta so that we figure out where we can improve on this and that. As usual, it will take an extra 18 months to about like 20 something months after that for you to actually get out something that can be considered not beta. But Yeah, so the timeline looks like end of the year, starting of 2023 for the beta version.
Yeah, I mean that's
And
go on.
and by yeah, by first week of July, we're gonna be releasing a .exe file for the metaverse environment, so so people can download that file and get the feel of the environment. They can roam in that environment and they can experience the beautiful world we are trying to build.
Very nice. So, will people? Is it a lot of metaverses are doing implementations where people will be able to bring in NFTs from other projects into their
Yeah,
metaverse.
yeah,
Is that something that you have planned as well?
yeah. Prerak will answer this part. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, if we talk about the current stage of metaverses, I would say that we don't have a universal standard for assets which can be played in a metaverse yet. So since we do not have any assets, so maybe we can have a big company which lays down certain rules, and those assets become a universal standard where if I follow those standards, I can use the character in any metaverse. We don't have that currently, but we certainly want people to be able to have more utility out of their assets inside Voyage. So during some point in the future, if such a standard comes up, we will be doing two things. So the first thing would be that the players would be able to download a 3D all of their 3D assets, which would so what we have is instead of avatars, we have aliens inside the Voyage metaverse. So the people would able to download their alien in 3D, and if they want that particular asset uh, to be played in some other metaverse, maybe they can follow the standards and port it to that particular metaverse they want to have in. And secondly, what we'll also have is that we see a lot of companies who don't build metaverses, they just build avatars and assets which can be used inside metaverses. So we also plan to collaborate with them. And once such a standard is established, we'll allow other these companies, or let's say other metaverses, to have their assets into our own metaverse. So the first utility would be that you'll be able to use your avatars from here in other worlds, and vice versa would be that other worlds will be able to visit Voyage. So these two things we do have in mind.
Cool. I mean, do you have any projects in mind that you'd be willing to work with to maybe give them a sneak head start on this, or is that too far in the future now?
I would
Well,
say, okay.
technically, at the moment, we do have some projects in mind. We are not we're not at liberty to exactly reveal the names of the projects that we are in progress with coming up to with an agreement. But there has been one project that has agreed to do this thing that we're planning to do, and that's the Bajuki's Vampire Invasion. We work pretty closely with Bajuki, and we love each other's work. So it seems like it would be an adequate fit.
You
But
see it.
we've got actually a bunch of projects in the works that we've begun talks, but at the moment Voyage is extremely busy with the 8-week roadmap. And with hitting targets, how we continue to instill faith is by continuing to hit targets that we've mentioned and then hit those that we haven't even mentioned. So our focus for the next 8 weeks, well, less so myself. I've got time to focus on these collaborations, but Vikram and Prerak are neck deep in it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So as far as they're concerned, if I'm out there talking to people about these collaborations that are actually rather technical, I don't want we're not here talking about one trait or something, right? We're talking about actual utility, actual interoperability.
Yeah.
So for something like that to be discussed, the boys simply Vikram and Perak simply at this juncture do not have time to come to the table to discuss it. But we're talking, we're definitely talking. We plan to be here for a long time, and we can, just by seeing who's been around, you sort of get the idea of who you think will be there running with you in the next few years. And so we've started talking to people for sure.
That's cool. I mean, I was quite happy you mentioned Bajewski there because I mean I own a few myself, but just looking at Vikram's profile picture there, it definitely has inspiration and similarities with vampires for sure.
Oh yeah, well, with Bajizuki, what we did was I we came up with some concepts as to what we wanted to see, and then I worked with him very closely. We basically, it was every day we were talking about certain traits and this and that, and so when he ended up delivering the concepts for each of our alien races, I just couldn't have imagined it a better way, because this is exactly what we spoke about in a way, you know. So we're very happy. We're extremely happy with what we're seeing so far, and the man works at record speeds. So yeah, I mean, what better way to bring value to our holders than to just give them art that we know they like?
I mean, yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good thing. And I mean, speaking about that a little bit, obviously, you know, it's pretty much a 2 year roadmap you're working on at this point. How do you, or like, what's your plans for keeping the community engaged for that time? Because obviously, you know, if you're not releasing a beta until sort of like towards the end of the year, that's still 6 months of doing your best to keep people interested and keep people updated and committed to the project.
Okay, so I've got an answer for this, and the thing is, right? We have to take a step back and look at the project as a whole. This isn't exactly, it's not your run of the mill PFP project where we run Gartic in the server every week, right? We are
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
building an ecosystem, a game, and an entire environment. We're building, even there's a marketplace down the line whereby we'd utilize our in-game tokens Voya for resources and or upgrades and whatever, right? So our the primary crux as to how we intend to keep our holders engaged is by continuing to deliver value and to show what we're working on, because we know we have a lengthy roadmap. In in uh, in order to fill the gaps while we're working on bigger things, the team will figure out a way to deliver value. And one case in point is exactly this: the Bajuki PFPs, right? We realized that we had a bit of a gap between now and the next point of value delivery, massive value delivery, which would have been the 3D interactive viewer. And so we plugged it in with something that we knew would bring value to the holders. Now, how we intend to keep people engaged is primarily to show people what we're working on. Of course, we're in the server, we're talking to people all the time. My team and I, we are in video call, in the voice call almost every night. If anyone wants to hop in to talk, and actually a lot of the people in this call right now have joined us on on the voice calls. You know, the people in our server, the people who are holding voyage planets, they're well aware of what the team is here to do. So engagement with regards to, of course, we're on Twitter, we're on Spaces. I myself am a co-host of one space, and we talk about things. How we engage and how we keep the engagement of the community is by continuing to build trust. So if the question is how we keep interest on us, it is by showing people what we're doing and by continuing to deliver. And by the time, you know, as we continue to show people what we're delivering, milestones continue to be hit. And the faith is proven by delivery. So that's the plan. That we're not looking for we're not exactly looking for the most bumping chat room, because we love our community. The community that we have understand the project. They understand what we've been trying to do. They understand each other. It's actually a very good place that we're in at the moment, and I believe the due attention will come as we continue to deliver. That's what the team is focusing on.
yeah. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome, and yeah, I agree that, you know, making sure that you hit your marks and you're not too late with with delivering on the roadmap is highly important and a very good way of keeping people engaged over the longer term. I'm one thing I did pick up a little as you're doing your introductions was the fact that I think it was Pizza Monster who mentioned that he was into applied mathematics and things like that. I've I'm not anywhere near close enough to intelligent enough to be able to have an in-depth discussion about it, but I'd kind of like to talk about some of the challenges that comes with organising a economy, especially, you know, spread out through different tokens and everything like that, and how you go about beginning to balance the amount of whatever resource is being put into the system versus what's being taken out.
Right. So I would just like to correct you here also. So Vikram is the one with applied
Oh,
mathematics, but sure, I'll
sorry.
take this question. No, that's not a problem at all. So I'll take this question. So I would say if you want to simulate a functioning economy, we I would say we need to have three integral things. The first is we need something that is being done. So we need economic activity being done, right?
Yeah.
Inside Voyage, it would be either building structures on your continents or visiting your friends' planets or participating in battles or just mining for resources. So that would we also have other activities. So let's say upgradation of your NFTs, customization of your NFTs. So that would be the primary economic activities that are being done. And the other thing that we would like is, along with this activity being done, we need to have resources which power up these activities. So we have four kinds of resources. We have antimatter, which is the energy currency inside the metaverse. So let's say you want to go from place A to place B inside your spaceship, it's gonna cost you energy. So you'll have to use antimatter for that. Then we have three other resources, each with their own utilities. So that is how we would simulate a working economy. So let's say in a, like in an a real world example, you have a lot of resources and you have a demand for those resources because you have utility backed with each of the resources. So that is how you're gonna take care of that part. Now there has to be a medium of exchange of these resources. So there has to be tool which gives you a value, which gives you the ability to to give value to a resource. So let's say if you buy petrol today, so let's say it's $5. Let's say you want to have detergent for your home, it's $10. So you need to have a currency in order to simulate an economy. So for that we have the Voya token, and all the resources which you're going to have, they would be freely exchangeable with the Voya token using the in-game marketplace. So you have four resources. You have the Voya token, and you can exchange them on the marketplace. Now we need to do another thing is that now the economy would collapse if we don't have any of these things working. So the first thing which we would plan to do is that the Voya token has to be scarce enough. You can't just have a lot of supply in the market because
Yeah.
that would just collapse the value of the Voya token. So we would also, so we will have to build the tokenomics in such a way that it remains scarce throughout the metaverse. And what you want is that you want the economic activity to continue. You want people to keep playing games. You want people to keep upgrading their assets. You want people to keep the customization on. So if you want to do that, you have to make the game interesting enough that people log in every day and they do something of value. So that is how we will keep the economic activity going. And if the Voya token is scarce enough, we'll see a functioning economy. And another very cool aspect of the metaverse, which we thought was that if you wanted to give the holders some passive income through the metaverse. So we already have had the planets mint. So what happens is when you own a planet, you get taxes from the continent owners, and those taxes are in the form of the four in-game resources. And as long as the game is going on, there's going to be a lot of demand for those in-game resources. So let's say you're a planet owner, you have a bunch of resources, you can just sell those resources off at the market, and in return for that you get the Voya token. And the Voya token you can also exchange with the ADA on any decentralized exchange. So in essence, you are generating an income out of this metaverse. If you're an early holder, or let's say even if you hold continents, you are going to generate a lot of resources, and as long as the economic activities continue, you are going to profit off of the continent in the metaverse. So I would say that is close to how a real world economy also works. So let's say if you have a spare apartment, you can just rent it out and it gives you passive income. So that is how we plan to go about it.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
we're gonna use different sort of probabilistic models and statistical models to just have that percentage like the percentage demand for all those things up in future. So we are also looking at that part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure things will change during beta anyway. I mean, functioning economies in games are at least as hard as they are in real life, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but if it's done properly, then it's like, it's very value
Yeah.
generating. Yeah.
So another thing that was
So
mentioned was traveling to go see your friends' planets or your friends' continents and things like that. Is that going
yeah.
to is that journey going to be an instant process, or is it going to be closer to like an old school game where you have to almost physically run or drive from one place to the next?
So I would say that that part would come under the exploration aspect of it. So let's say if you want to go from planet A to planet B, so you would require two resources. The first one is the elixir, which puts you to cryo sleep inside during the long space journey. And the other one is, of course, antimatter, because you need energy to go from place A to place B. So I would say that that would depend on the person. So what kind of player the person is. If the person just wants to get to the other to the other point, so the person can go instantly. And let's say if you're more of a exploration kind of guy, you want to enjoy the scenic beauty of the space, you can also attempt to drive, because somewhere down the line we're also going to have spaceships. We have that in the white paper. So I would say that both options would be given to the players. Either you would be able to just hop in there instantly, or otherwise, what you could do is you could just enjoy the driving aspect of a spaceship as well.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean, like I want to travel through the stars. I don't want to instantly port from place to place.
I would say so. I would say that we would keep both the options open. So let's say if your friend is under attack, you might want to hop in there instantly.
Agreed.
But if you
Agreed.
just yeah, yeah. So if you just want to go there for a cup of tea, maybe you can enjoy the vastness of space beforehand. So yeah, both options would be open.
How long do you expect travel times to be for that? I mean, I would expect travel times between galaxies to be longer than they are between planets, obviously. But, do you have a sense of scale as to how large the overall world is? Like, how long would it take you to get from the left part to the right part?
No, there's no sense of scale in terms of time yet that we've achieved. But what we know is that all these timings would be, you'd be able to sort of shorten the time using the correct corresponding resource, such as antimatter. So you could spend more antimatter to shorten that travel time if you were so inclined to do so. It's not the something like the exact travel time that comes pretty late on in the game development. Actually, that is a very secondary sort of consideration when it comes to what we intend to do with the rest of the game.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, like I played an old MMO for many years, and at least in the early stages before they made transportation a lot easier, it'd be a case of logging on, and it then might be an hour's journey to go and find the people that are actually logged in to play with, and sort of like there was risk in that journey as well. So it's possible I could get three-quarters of the way there and then die and then have to start all over again. Um,
Was this what's that thing? The spaceship one as well, right? Eve Online or something.
Yeah, I never played that one. I was an older EverQuest guy myself. But yeah,
Right.
I had a lot of friends that played Eve Online, and it did interest me. I just didn't have the time, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's something that's important to balance as well, because people, there are a lot of very open worlds that are created that are just not populated enough. So you run into the problem you're talking about, whereby you've got to run around for a full hour before you bump into someone else. So scale is a big consideration for us at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something that can be, sort of, it can be changed with time if needs be. Is like if you do need to widen the area for more players, I guess. So
Yeah, that's
so
for sure. So
So, like, when I'm approaching a planet, either having warped there or whatever, do I get to see the differences between the planets? Like, this one has a circular continent and that one has more of a square looking continent? Is there differentiation like that?
The differentiation is going to be like the environment is going to be procedurally generated. Like we're going to use C++ programming and all the mathematical functions and all to, just populate the environment and have variations. So that's how the planet's going to be. The planet's going to look different
Very nice.
from.
I did just want to make sure that everyone listening is aware that if you have any questions that we've not covered during this, feel free to post them in NFT chat, and we'll make sure they get asked. So, is there any big things that I've missed yet?
Yeah, the other big thing is we've been asking for big institution backing right now. It's not official, so I can't speak much about it, but we are having meeting in coming weeks with big institution backing so that it will solidify our position. And I know that this project is very ambitious and it will require a lot of uh, experienced people to guide us through. So as I already mentioned, I am in a computer science college, so we've been talking to our associate professors who are expert in certain fields to join our team as an expert advisor to guide us through the journey.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask if there was any plans to increase the size of your
Yeah,
team.
team expert, yeah. Yeah, our team is already increased right now. We've got two more full stack developers working with us from the college. Prerak and I are the faces of Voyage presently, but we've got few people working in the back with us.
Oh wow. Sorry, I've
Yeah.
just been told people are asking questions in the Voyage chat, so I'm just heading there now quickly to see if there's anything coming up. Um, are the resources in game going to be tokenized and custodial, or is it just strictly game assets? So yeah, I'm guessing they're wanting to know if like the rock, the crystal, the antimatter, and stuff like that. Is that NFT based or is that just server based?
Right. So that would just be server based. But what the thing is that you have the Voya token, and that is going to be token based economics. So that would be on the Cardano blockchain. So if you exchange those resources for the Voya token, then you have something on the blockchain, and that you can exchange with other people online.
Nice. Da, 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 da.
It's not going to be an NFT. It's not going to be NFT based. It's going to be on server. Like it will update your account on the server.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not everything in a game has to be turned into an NFT. To be fair.
Yeah.
Uh,
NFT is just a mean to give you true ownership of your asset. Like that's the only point. Like these games are already being built since years, and we already have these type of land and weapon-based games. But the NFT is that it's hosted on a blockchain, so it's sort of decentralized. Like a centralized server cannot change the code and completely change the game. So that's how we can create an economic value out of it because it's decentralized. So that's the whole point of NFT based game.
yeah, yeah. So I just had a question pop into my head, and then it popped straight out just as I had the opportunity to ask it. Um,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. So how far away is the continence drop?
So it's not very far. Cash can answer this question.
Okay. So we've got a couple of things to look at, but we are looking at somewhere around end of June, around mid July. If, yeah, but like I said, we are working on a couple of things that we are first perfecting what we've got with the planets, with regards to the website overhaul and all that. With regards to the continents, we don't want to drop an exact date, but we're looking at mid year,
Ah,
and
okay,
that's when resource generation will start as well.
cool. So I just while we were chatting, I had a quick look at the CNFT.tools page for Voyager, and we have a few projects that do this, but there's no rankings on any of the planets for rarity or anything like that. Does that
Yeah,
mean that, is there much difference between buying one planet now versus buying another planet now? Are
yeah.
they all
So
basically the same with the exception of their names and the locations and stuff?
that's the thing, because these are in-game assets. We're not looking at a rarity in terms of numbers. The planets are entirely what you make of it. So the value of a planet to each individual holder can be different. For instance, we've got two types of planets. We've got sistered planets and orphan planets. With the sister planets, in the metadata itself, you can see that, well, they've got sister planets. They've got planets that go together in the same cluster. And we've got an in-game mechanic whereby if you hold a couple of these sister planets, you unlock resource multiplication bonuses in tiers. So for that reason, a certain planet within my cluster of sisters, even though it's a C class, one of the smaller planets, could mean a lot more to me than it does to you. That's just one utility. Secondly, we've got our orphan planets, which does not have any. They do not have any sister planets, but they've got their own utility in terms for being basically a raffle ticket to our resource raffle, as well as having rarer traits on for the aliens that are born to those orphan planets. So then it depends on your strategy. Are you trying to hoard rarer aliens, or are you trying to hoard resources? Or if you're we've actually got a lot of holders who own north of like 10 planets. So if you've got 10, you could probably try and collect one set of sisters and get orphans for the rest. It's entirely dependent on your strategy. We know some people who prefer a certain type of resource, and so they go hunting for that type of planet. Then you've got people who only prefer to hold the larger tier ones, so they look for the class A planets. It's a mix and match. So for that reason, if we were to include rarities, the rarities would be completely arbitrary, because
Yeah.
that's just not how the assets work.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I just, I was just thinking of the person that's come across this AMA and thought, you know what, I'll go get myself a planet, and then be confronted with less information on our site than there would usually be available.
I agree. I agree. And the problem with that is then that on the flip side, I offer you the situation whereby someone looks to buy a planet and buys something based off rarity when actually they probably have no use for that planet,
Yeah,
when they were probably better off getting something else more along the line of, okay, for instance, if you were new, right? And if I told you that that alien in Vikram's profile picture comes only from Magnum Maximus planets, you'd be, and that could be a factor. You could be like, well, shit, I want one of those PFPs. If I'm going to get a planet, I'm going to get a Maximus one. So unfortunately, well, because it is a complex project, right? Because of that, for you to make an informed decision, there's actually a fair bit of reading material, which is why we get on these spaces and talk as
yeah,
much as we can, because we don't, there is a lot to read. We've got one of our holders in here, Audio. You can see him with the Viking U25 profile picture. He spent hours and hours breaking down our metadata into an Excel sheet so that our holders can help find their sister planets. We've got a lot of participation from our community with regards to just simply making the mechanics that we've laid out work for each other. And as of now, we've got a couple of holders who've completed a set of sister planets. Both of them, I believe, are in this chat. So yeah, the mechanics itself make the project way more complex than a simple rarity ranking. In fact, when we listed it on tools, I initially asked for only a certain set of traits to be filterable, because there's a lot of metadata there
yeah.
that would just be noise, right? A lot of it would just be noise. And so it took some time for the metadata to be up, for the listing to be up on tools, and to hear feedback from the community for us to actually understand what we needed people to be able to filter to.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an ongoing commitment, and the staff here at Tools are very good for that. Actually, yeah, I like they are absolute wizards in some cases, I have to say.
Hands down, every time I had a request, it was settled almost instantly. Really, thank you so much. You guys were your service is excellent.
Thank you very much. We do our best. It's a busy space to keep on top of. So, what's been the? I mean, obviously you've had a lot of challenges coming to this point, but what's been the biggest challenge that you thought that you've had to come over that you may not have thought was possible at some point, and then you managed to find a way around it?
Vikram, you want to take that?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge was right now, just because our planet mint was relatively high priced as compared to other projects. Like, for example, the average CNFT pricing of projects is around 40 to 60 or maybe 70 AD nowadays. But we had a pricing of 140 ADA for each planet, which was sort of difficult to you know pull out because
Yeah.
uh, people, yeah, so that was the pricing, but we knew that our assets are very limited in nature, and this comes with a lot of utility. So we also need funds to develop this project, because it's not just a profile picture project and then just there's no further game or meta development. You need funds to do all those things. You need funds to generate all the 3D assets. You need funds to develop game mechanics. You need funds in all of that stuff. So that was one of the biggest challenge, to convince people at that pricing, and I think. Yeah, we did well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, mint prices are what they are. They have been sliding up, which some people like, some people don't. But
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting, especially when talking of projects with a longer term focus like yours. Your approach to making sure that the ADA you collect today is enough to fund the project tomorrow. Because, for instance,
yeah,
when you minted, I think ADA was still at least at like, the 90 cent sort of area. And obviously
yeah, yeah,
now
yeah.
it's more like the 50, 60 sort of cent area, which, that's a lot of fiat to lose over a short period of time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the time that we had made the decision to announce the mint price, we were actually looking at $1 ADA.
Yeah,
And just looking at the direction things were going, we had obviously, as Vikram said, it was a big thing to us to come out and say, look, we're gonna go for a mint price of a public mint price of 140, and then of course we had discounts to our white list, and we had discounts to our holders, but still that was a big price point to come out with. But at that point in time, the consideration was simple. You see the chart sliding down, right? This is a metaverse project. If a metaverse, like it's a metaverse game, there's so much being promised. If you come out and say we're gonna sell 1,600 assets at 60 ADA, it makes no sense to anyone on any paper. That's just because it just wouldn't work. So
yeah,
our job here wasn't to justify I don't know. I find that our job at that point in time wasn't to convince people that the price point wasn't that high. That's not the job. The job was to convince people that this is where the price point is going. This is the value that we aim to deliver, and we've done this on zero funding so far. Imagine what we can do with X amount, and imagine what we can do with X amount more. So as long as, I mean, that we speak to our holders daily, and a lot. We speak to our holders like hours a day, and we notice a lot of people continuing to collect more and more planets, and that's, I believe, I'd like to believe, is because we've demonstrated that whatever we have, albeit the high price point, albeit everything, it is because it is going into development of a product. Our key point here is the product, and as long as there's faith in the team delivering the product, I believe it's doable.
yeah. I mean, but the question was more about how you had to change or how you planned ahead to take into account the fact that ADA is worth, two thirds what it was 2 weeks ago. as far as fiat, because obviously, we're in the ADA ecosystem. For those of us that are here, yes, we can pay with ADA and we can exchange services for ADA, and it's all fine. But as soon as you start talking to outside investors, or if you've got to pay a game coder or anything like that, all of a sudden you have to change the ADA to whatever fiat currency is needed. And obviously you're getting a lot less of that now, and you still have your own bills and mortgages to pay and families to feed and everything like that.
That's right. Well, with regards to our team, the largest asset, I've said this a lot, but the largest assets Voyage actually has are Bikram and Prerak. A lot of the work that you see going into it is actually the two boys sitting and doing their work. Now,
Yeah.
we've accounted for a budget that accounts for slippage, because some of the things we've included in the budget are flexible as to when we would like to include them. So because of the budget planning, at the moment we're still in a position to deliver. That's where business planning comes in. I don't want to go into too deep,
No,
but
I wouldn't. I wouldn't ask you to on that one. It's
yeah,
it's
albeit the slip in Cardano prices, all that, these were considerations that our team made before minting. Because like I'm a finance guy myself.
yeah.
I'm a corporate banker in real life, and hedging is something that we do. So, so yeah, it was a consideration we'd taken, and unfortunately, yes, Cardano did take a slip, but it was not. It's not something that has, changed our timeline at all.
I mean that's good to hear that it was considered before you minted, because I mean I think especially for projects that minted middle of last year where ADA was shooting through the roof and we were looking at like $3 ADA, to then go from people making long-term plans, and then obviously 8 months later we're at 15% of the price. Like there are going to be projects that struggle with that.
But surely, like I mean, if you've got any sort of a relatively decent business plan in place, if you are holding your treasury in an asset that you know is prone to market movements, there should be a hedge. That
Yeah,
there just should be, especially if we're talking about a
yeah,
6 month period. We minted a month ago, and we've got a hedge.
yeah.
We've got a, whether or not a monetary or an operational hedge, we've got hedges. So it's important because you never know when this thing can hit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something I feel that artists on their own aren't always so good with. It's not something that's their area of expertise. They know they've got however many ADA in the bank, and then when they need more money, they'll do another mint. It's like
That's
or they plan to mint, to have another mint, and that'll pay for that, but all of a sudden that doesn't pay for that anymore.
yeah. Well, business plan.
Yeah.
I mean, I
But
don't
yeah,
really know what.
it's important for users to be aware that there's more at stake to a successful NFT project than necessarily the either the PFP or the technology behind the project.
Yeah, of course. The business element itself, which is where I think, uh, which is I think primarily why I was consulted by the boys in the first place. So we put a fair few things in place to ensure we've got contingencies upon contingencies for certain things. So we have been hit by, we've been hit by stuff like our mint got delayed, right? Our mint got delayed a day because we
Oh,
were
I was
having
so
some
mad
issue.
about
But
that. You have no idea how
yeah,
mad I was about that. That was the night I
I
was
mean,
going on my honeymoon, so I couldn't mint.
yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? So that is literal. If you're a project dev, that is literal shit has hit the fan, worst case scenario,
Yeah.
because you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it then. But we dealt with it because we had contingencies. You can't just say, "Oh, that's not going to happen to us." You have to know what happens if it does. And because we asked ourselves those questions as a team, it was fun. So
That's
business planning is a big part of everything.
Yeah, that's very cool. And just want to throw out a reminder to everyone: if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask, throw them up in NFT chat. I am trying to look at the voice chat now and again, but I'm now looking at a lot of different things. So yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on?
No, I think this would be it. So it was really great to be here. Uh, I think if people don't have any questions, then we can just continue.
Yeah, I mean, I've been putting off buying a planet for a little bit, but my plan is to, once we get off this, I'm going to go find myself a nice little looking planet and finally get on the board with it, I think.
I'm say hi in the server.
Oh,
It's classic.
definitely.
Oh, and if you're buying a planet, you're gonna need to talk to Audio, the Viking man over there, because he's got the Google Sheets of the sisters and all that. The man's crazy. Like he's he's actually organized our metadata in the most convenient way for our holders to find what they're looking for.
Actually, that does bring me back to a question that I asked a couple of projects. Is that when you have all the game and everything's ready to go, are you going to be doing like your own wiki for game advice and the effects of different items and stuff like that, or is that something you're going to let the community take the lead on?
No, we would of course have we would drop a guide. We would definitely drop a guide. But as with every game, like even if you're talking about things, established things like let's take something like League of Legends, right? So you've got patches that happen ever so often. Whenever they release a patch, you've
Yeah,
got patch notes. The dev does that,
yeah,
so we'd be doing patch notes. And then you've got the people who write up what the tiers are going to be, what the new meta is. Oh, this one's powerful, that one's powerful. As as people who ourselves are deeply immersed, I myself have like the first sheet that came up to collate the planets together was something that I did myself because I was looking for my planets. I believe that we will have our patch notes, but with regards to metas are not something that the dev team goes out and says, hey, look, use this character, use these aliens. They are the ones that are great, right? That's something
yeah.
that you actually have the user saying. So, to answer your question, patch notes, yes, we will have a log of patch notes. If a new item, if a new effect or something is released, of course, we'll talk about that. We'll do releases. But if you're talking about actual in-game mechanics of like, oh, you do this and you're most likely to earn more resources, that's going to come from the community.
That'd be cool. I mean, I think that's a very good way to. I mean, it takes some of the work off the devs because honestly, they usually have enough to do anyway. But it's a very good way to keep the community engaged and working together and conversing as they work out all the different effects and things like that for themselves. And yeah, it's something that I've seen. It often has larger popularity when it's run by a community as opposed to run by whether it's Blizzard or Sony or whatever other. I mean, there's only three big ones now anyway, I guess. But
Yeah, that's exactly right. When the community gets involved, first of all, um, the reception from other community members is it's generally better because this is written by someone else in your shoes as well, who's sitting there and playing the game and figuring these things out.
yeah,
Secondly, as the project end, as the end that has put out this product, and you see people that you have sold this product to so interested in your product that they're coming out and spending their own time to collate these things, write these things, write metas, all
yeah,
that kind of thing. It gives you a little more faith in what you're doing, because you have very few visible KPIs as a project lead at the very beginning. Your first KPI, of course, would be first mint. Did you sell out? Fine, that's one. What happens then while you're building? What is your KPI? I would consider your KPI customer satisfaction. Well, the people who are within your community who are here supporting the project, what are they doing? Are they happy with what you're leaving them with? And I think a community that sits there and figures out how best to optimize the assets that you've put out, that's the best possible thing we could ask for. So far we are extremely happy, and we think as we continue down the line, this core group of community that we have that sit here and talk about the game and try and figure out things about the game, it's just going to grow because we're going to keep putting out more stuff.
yeah. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. It's like community and devs working together on the same project, and hopefully everybody coming up smiling.
That's the plan, man. Can't wait to see you up in the server. Say hi and let us know what planet you get.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I don't have a huge amount of time to talk in servers, but I'll definitely pop in and
No,
let you know which planet my ADA bag would support me buying.
good, man. Thank you so much for having us.
But yeah, thank you very much to everyone for turning up, especially the Voyage guys, Vikram, Stash, and Pizza Monster. If you are watching this on YouTube as a recording, feel free to like and subscribe and share and make sure your friends and family and people that you don't like as well see it. And we look forward to seeing you all in outer space soon.
All right. Thanks for everything, guys. Have a good night if it's nighttime.
Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, very much appreciated, guys.